It is an impossible situation. Jesus has been teaching crowds of people. We are told that it is thousands of people out in the wilderness, far from the closest town. They've come to see him because they've heard of the wondrous things that he has been doing, and they want to see it for themselves. Being with all those people must have been exhausting. And so Jesus has crossed a lake to find a little privacy, a little peace after a heated conversation with some of the religious authorities. But peace is not on the menu today. Instead, as he goes and seeks quiet, the crowds follow him, find him, seek him out. It's the end of a long day, and Jesus realizes that these people need to eat. He decides that he and the disciples should feed these people. But the disciples point out that is impossible. The disciples are confused, overwhelmed, flabbergasted. They think that maybe Jesus should just send the people away. Surely the 12 of them cannot take responsibility for feeding thousands. But as the Gospel of Mark tells this story, Jesus responds to the disciples' objections by saying, "You give them something to eat." You give them something to eat? Are you crazy, Jesus? It would take more than half a year's salary to feed all these people. And even then, how could we get the food from town to here? What are they supposed to give to them? How can they possibly do what Jesus is asking them to do? As the disciples are sitting there, overwhelmed by what Jesus has asked of them, sure that Jesus must have finally lost it, Andrew, one of the disciples, approaches Jesus. He brings with him a young boy who has brought a few loaves of bread and a couple of fish. Basically, Andrew has found a kid who packed his lunch and is willing to share. At one level, it is absurd. Why even bother? What difference will 5 loaves of bread and 2 fish make to thousands of hungry people? People must have been laughing at Andrew, scoffing at him. What good does he think these scraps will do in the face of all this need? It's barely even a drop in the bucket. But he does it anyway. He brings the food anyway. It doesn't seem like enough. It seems almost silly to offer it up, but he brings it to Jesus anyway, and Jesus takes what he brings, he honors what he has to offer, and he uses it to do something amazing. Jesus feeds 5,000 people that day. It is a miracle. It is hard to imagine. Maybe that one young person's example motivates more of them to share, and it turns out that they had more than enough, and the miracle is in the spontaneous generosity. Or maybe the miracle is that it really is just those 5 loaves of bread and those 2 fish, and somehow, by the power of the same Jesus who turned water into wine, Jesus makes that little bit of food keep going and going until somehow there's even more left over at the end than there was at the beginning. Who knows? However it happened, what we tend to remember about this story is Jesus, the amazing thing he did, the amazing power he displayed, what it says, what it tells us about our Lord. And that is all good and right. This is a story about Jesus, about what Jesus makes possible, about what Jesus can do. But it's also a story about Andrew, who took a leap of faith and brought what he had, even though it did not seem like enough. It's about the young man who, through Andrew, offers up what he has for Jesus to use it. It doesn't seem like enough. It seems almost silly to offer it up. But Jesus takes what they bring. He receives it. He honors it. He uses it to do something amazing, something that no one could have imagined. The Fuller Youth Institute did a study a few years ago talking to teenagers about how they felt about faith, about life, about themselves. One of the things they heard frequently in their interviews with these teenagers was that these teenagers felt like they were not enough. They felt like they had to be everything all the time, like they did not have space to screw up, like they had to please everyone, like they had to do all the things and always be perfect, or else people would see through them and discover that they're hurting inside. That pain is particularly real during our teenage years, but of course it doesn't just go away when we get older. We see all these seemingly perfect people, friends on social media, only sharing the good stuff, airbrushed pictures, Hollywood magic. We're sometimes overwhelmed. We think we don't measure up. We feel like we don't have enough to offer, like we're imposters, and that if anyone really looks closely at our lives, they're going to figure out that we don't know what we're doing. The thing that we sometimes forget, of course, is that everyone in this world is just a person. From the most powerful to the most humble, there is no one out there who has all the answers. We are all just figuring it out. Sometimes we know what we're talking about, and sometimes we are, maybe most of the time, we're just making it up as we go along. But it's easy to fall into the trap of thinking that everyone else knows what they're doing. Everyone else has it all put together. No one else is struggling like you are. And to believe that you're the only one who is worn thin. You're the only one who is struggling to get by. You're the only one who feels absolutely spent and like you do not have anything to offer. Sometimes we feel like we are not good enough, that we don't have it in us to live the lives that are in front of us. Maybe we feel like God is calling us, that Jesus has given us a mission, but that we are just not up for it. Love your neighbor. Put God's love into action. Stand up for justice. Fight against evil, racism, xenophobia, exclusion. Work for peace. Help young people find their way in the world. Pass the story of Jesus and his love on to others. Whatever your mission in life is, one of those, all of those, something else entirely, it can sometimes feel like it's more than we can handle, more than we know how to do. Sometimes it feels like the world's hurts are just too big and that we, with our limited resources, are too small and insignificant to do anything about it. But Jesus sees us. He sees what we bring to the table, and he honors it, and he blesses it. We think that all we have are a few scraps to offer. We think what we have to give, the gifts we have to share, we think it cannot possibly make a difference in the face of all that needs to be done. But Jesus sees us. He sees what we have to offer, and he says, you are enough. Who you are and what you bring to the table is good and holy and makes a difference. We think we just have some scraps, but God says what you bring to the table is exactly what this world needs. I can use your gifts. I will use your gifts to make a difference, to do something that matters. Notice that Andrew and his young friend cannot feed the crowds by themselves. What they have to offer matters. It is essential to the story, but it is only able to do something amazing after they offer it up to Jesus. God is the hero of this story, and God takes all that we have and all that we are, and God takes what we think is not enough and turns it into more than enough. God turns an economy of scarcity into an economy of abundance. God takes bits and pieces and binds them together into a feast of grace that is beyond our imagining. In a sense, that's what the church is. The church is the place, it's the community, it's the people where we gather, perhaps feeling broken or incomplete, and we hear the call of Jesus. We hear Jesus inviting us to join him in the work of God's love. We are invited to be part of God making all things new. And perhaps we don't think we're up for it. Perhaps we don't think that who we are or what we have to or what we bring to the table is enough to really change anything. And yet Jesus takes what we have, and he blesses it, and he turns it into something beyond our wildest imaginings. For the next 2 weeks at Williamsburg United Methodist Church, we are talking about stewardship, about trusting God with our gifts, including our financial resources, and allowing God to use who we are and what we have to support God's work. None of us on our own could make church happen. But when we give generously and share our gifts, our talents, our hard work, our prayer, our love, our resources, and yes, even our money, we are able to do work that is beyond the capacity of any one of us to do alone. In the past year, because we are a church together, because you give generously of yourselves together, we provided disaster relief, by packing 140 flood relief cleanup buckets in partnership with the United Methodist Committee on Relief. We helped provide nearly 3,000 meals to at-risk kids over the course of 10 weeks this summer. We donated to support missionaries and make an impact in places of hurt around the world. We helped feed local families, local children, people living on the edge of homelessness right here in our community. We've nurtured growth in families and children through our Kids Morning Out preschool and our early childhood music school. We've offered the gift of time and community to folks who need it through our respite care ministry. We've had hundreds of people participate in Sunday school, small groups, and short-term studies. We've helped form young people in faith through Messy Church, Sunday morning kids ministry, youth group, Messy Church summer camp, and more. Our youth and their families worked alongside local businesses and community groups to help lead a response to the devastation of Hurricane Helene. We've been in ministry with college students here in this space and through our continuing partnership with and support of the Wesley Foundation at William & Mary. We've hosted homeless folks in our building for a week as part of our community's winter shelter. We've worshiped together in person and online with an average of about 80 people worshiping online and 380 people worshiping in person each Sunday. We've built community. We've cared for folks who are struggling. And here's the thing, no matter how much you give to Williamsburg UMC of your time, your energy, your money, your hard work, your talents, your prayers, your wisdom, no matter how much any of us gives, none of us could have done all of that incredible work on our own. None of the gifts we bring, no matter how grand or how humble, is enough on its own to do the work that we have done, that y'all have done. And I've just kind of hopped in recently over the past year. I'm here. I'm joining. I'm excited. But when we bring our gifts to Jesus, when we offer them up together as part of this community that Jesus has called together, this thing called church, God blesses our gifts and multiplies them and uses them to transform lives, to put love into action, to do more than we can imagine. If you'd like to commit to joining in that work over the next year, we are asking folks this month to make a commitment to fill out an estimate of giving card, either by taking one that should have been mailed to you if you're on our mailing list, or finding one of the ones that we have here where they're actually in the narthex on your way out. They're on a table along with a sheet that lists some of the amazing work we've done that celebrates that. Or you can go to williamsburgumc.org/pledge, PLEDGE. Fill it out online, fill it out a paper copy and put it in the offering plate or turn it into the church office. Either way, each of us is invited to commit to offering our gifts to the amazing work God is doing together through us in the coming year. And also, we know that this is a difficult and uncertain financial season for some folks right now, particularly those of you who might be impacted by the government shutdown for your employment. If you can't commit to financial giving, that's okay. You are beloved. You are part of this. And you are also invited to support God's work in other ways, through your prayer, through your hard work, through your time, through your love. We are all invited to join in the work God is doing. The good news today is simple. You matter. Your gifts matter. You have a role to play in the work of love that God is doing in our world. You are enough. Who you are and what you bring to the table is precisely enough to do the work God is calling you to do. God is up to something big, beyond the ability of any one of us to do it on our own, something that might feel like it's way too big for any one of us to make a difference in making it happen. But the truth is that you matter. You are enough. Your contribution makes a difference to our church, yes, and also to our world. Our world is in desperate need of people who show up with the love of Jesus no matter what. Your life makes a difference. You are someone for whom Christ died and rose again. You are someone who is created in the image of God. That means you are enough. God said the world is not complete without you in it. God said the party won't really be a party unless you are there. When you look at yourself and see a failure or someone who is inadequate or someone who doesn't measure up or doesn't have anything good to give, just know that's not what God sees. I hate to tell you, but you're wrong and God's right. When God looks at you, God sees God's masterpiece. God sees a glorious and wondrous and essential part of God's good creation. That's what God sees when God looks at you. Church is the place. It is the community where we gather together and remember and remind each other that we are, all of us, made in God's image, which means we are not junk, that we are enough, because we are a unique reflection of the one who is love and life itself. You matter. What you bring to the table matters. It makes a difference. You make a difference. Bring your gifts to Jesus. Offer up your life to Jesus. And he can bless it, transform it, multiply it to feed the hungry, to care for those who are in need, to bless the broken, to bring good news to the poor, to keep writing the story of God's love in our world. You are enough. We are enough because we belong to Jesus. Because Jesus blesses us, transforms us, and uses us for good. You are enough. We are enough because we are created and loved and sent into the world by the God who is love itself. Amen.